Hello and welcome to another discussion on the Energy Club social networks. This talk show is broadcast online at the moment, and we are going to discuss the ways of ensuring gas supply through LNG. And it's about suppliers, routes, and new project possibilities of LNG supply to Ukraine as the as we are entering the third year of the full-scale Russian invasion. Concerning the importance of the topic that we are discussing and its versatility, we will not set the strict time limit. However, I would like to remind you that 7 to 10 minutes is the optimum time for keeping the attention of the audience. We are going to discuss in particular the questions like who are the main LNG suppliers in the global market and what geopolitical factors influence the market? What are the existing and potential routes for transporting LNG to Europe and Ukraine? Which advantages and disadvantages these routes possess? What new projects and initiatives are being developed in the LNG sector? How can they affect the gas market? But I think that much better than myself, the scene will be set by Valery Bezos, Vice President of Energy Club, advisor to the Minister of Community, Territorial and Infrastructure Development. So I give the floor to Mr. Bezos.
Thank you, Andrew, and thanks to all the colleagues for joining our discussions. Today is a hugely important topic for us. The Energy Club is going to make the topic of getting rid completely of Russian energy resources in 2024 as one of the main priority for the club, for the community. We see it as a completely possible and achievable mission because I just want to remind you, colleagues, that 2 years ago there were so many voices, so many pessimistic and skeptical voices as for the idea for getting rid of natural gas for the EU, but now we see how it became a very successful story for the EU, and we see a tremendous resilience of the EU countries going through their 2 winters already. And today we hear voices from the governments of all over the Europe for their finalization of the key political decision for getting rid of the natural gas from their Russian imperialistic and terrorists. So we see that 2024 as a key year for pushing this issue to the final decision, because we understand that still a lot of voices, so-called pragmatic voices, for the idea that it's good and cheap and it's well to get LNG gas from Russia. But the Energy Club, we're sure that in this case, cynical doesn't mean to be cynical doesn't mean to be pragmatic. On the contrary, we believe that it's quite unpragmatic to spoil your reputation as a business, to spoil your reputation as a government, to feed the imperialistic war machine of Russia, especially from the point of view of the European countries and the European businesses, because igniting the war the next door to your country by trying to earn some bloody money with cheap LNG from Russia doesn't look wise, doesn't look smart, and doesn't look pragmatic. So we urge everybody to put a lot of lights on this issue, and we hope and we believe that our efforts with joining with the efforts of other actors at this issue will will give us a sound result, and the next winter Europe will successfully survive without even without LNG from Russia. So, dear colleagues, it's hugely interesting to hear your ideas, your thoughts, your proposals on how to deal with this issue. Thank you again for joining us. Welcome to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bezos. So the scene is set, and may I say that I fully appreciate and share Mr. Bezos's considerations about different levels of pragmatism. And actually, sometimes being pragmatic means not being pragmatic. And this is probably the highest level of this notion. We value very much the fact that we are being joined by international experts because Ukraine does not exist in vacuum, of course. We depend on international help. The international community depends on Ukraine in many aspects. And this is, well, let's rather talk about interconnection and what mutual benefits we can get from each other. Who is better suited to talk about this knowingly than Predrag Gruzicic, head of gas unit at the Energy Community Secretariat? So the word goes to Mr. Gruzicic.
Thank you so much, Andrei, and thanks. I think this is an overstatement. I don't know everything, of course. I know very little. I know only what energy community is about and how we can help Ukraine and what Ukraine should do to align. I'm not an expert really on LNG markets, but we can talk about that indeed. There are many interesting things to be said about that. What I want to say is that as an introductory word is that we are launching now a dialogue with the Ukrainian government and stakeholders how to, because we see a great need for reforming of the gas markets, at least to put it in the place where it was before the martial law was enacted. So we see a lot of room of improvement, even with state interventions. But we believe that it could be done much better. And then we want to talk with Ukrainian stakeholders about the future, and mainly in three pillars. We are organizing this dialogue, and it will be probably formalized with the help of the Commission during the accession talks and this support package, and of course with our American colleagues. What will happen after the transit will have been expired, the transit contract, how to right size the transmission system, how to make the best use of the storage capacities in Ukraine. This is our main goal, and we do a lot of things to popularize these storages. But of course, we cannot turn a blind eye on regulatory framework and how to make this regulatory framework really stable. This is the biggest problem with Ukrainian perception, is that the regulatory framework is, it doesn't have to be bad. It's just not stable enough for the traders' trust. And finally, how to tap into enormous potential of biomethane and other non-fossil gases in Ukraine. We of course know that Ukraine will remain one of few European countries which will still be a very big and reliant natural gas producer, and this is good. This is also very important for the orderly transition. But we need also to talk about biomethane. In this respect, we are organizing several events specifically also for Ukraine, and you will, of course, receive the invitation for this. We are organizing this shippers meeting in Vienna, 25th of March, when we will talk about potential for storages and, of course, potential for reforms. Traders will be invited, Ukrainian stakeholders will be invited. We are organizing a stress test to assess how reliable technically storages will be in the next season. So we saw that 2.5 BCM was injected last year by European traders. This is, I would say, it's a moderate success. We expected a little bit more, but okay. And thirdly, we will have a dedicated LNG workshop, to which I will, of course, include you, dear colleagues. Probably somewhere beginning of June. It will be very, very interesting agenda with the help of the Commission, where we will really talk about LNG markets, how it functions today, and specifically in Europe, what is the regulatory requirement for that, and how Ukraine and all other contracting parties, including Moldova and Western Balkan, can tap into this. Actually, the biggest now supply source after Norway for Europe. And we can talk, of course, today about what President Biden's sees or freezing of new permits for LNG would mean for European supplies. It might have some mid to long-term risks, but in short term, we don't see this as a problem. We can talk about other potential LNG suppliers. We can talk about how these LNG supplies can be transferred to Ukraine via several routes, which route is the best, which is the cheapest, and what are the constraints, and so on and so forth. But again, we need also to talk. We can talk also about need to reform a little bit the PSO scheme in Ukraine, and to implement the remaining energy community acquis in gas. I'm sorry, I missed the very first couple of minutes, so I don't know if this is the framework of today's meeting, but I will fit, of course, to whichever topic it will lead us into. Thanks, Andrei. Back to you.
You have demonstrated your ability to fit into any topics, and I'm actually in a very dubious situation because my reliable sources say that Predrag Grujičić is a good expert in LNG as in any energy issue, and he says he is not. However, and he is a reliable source per se for me. However, from what I heard, I can hear that he managed to put our issue into a wide context, and so I still say that he is an expert. Thank you very much. The framework is about switching to more use of LNG, about new routes, new suppliers, and not only new, but old as well, new projects and all this kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure that you may formulate it yourself. However, we are switching to another expert speaker, and this is William Koppels, director of the ERU Group. William, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Andrei. So we are a small committee, so I'm happy to see Predrag. I'll make it short and indeed pragmatic. I think LNG for Ukraine, I mean, unfortunately, the Black Sea is closed, and in any case, it was not. There has never been a real long-term or a real option to build a LNG terminal there, because for LNG to work directly to a country, you need several things. You need to have access to the sea, of course, and especially to the Atlantic, because that's where the LNG is coming from now. In my former company, Gaz de France, my boss always said that Germany was not an LNG country. Well, he was finally wrong, but it's because of the war. It's not because he said, well, there's enough pipe gas coming to Germany, so it doesn't make sense economically to bring LNG such a long distance. So the LNG is coming to Europe, and it's good for Ukraine. And now in fact, the only question, so just to finish, for LNG to work, you need to have access to the sea and to have players who are enabled to engage on long-term contracts. That was for long a problem for the Croatian terminal, and Predrag knows it well. So because you need to have someone who commits on a long-term LNG contract to be able to pay for the investment. Yeah, this is about big investments of several hundreds millions of euros to build the terminal, and so you cannot say, okay, just build the terminal and then we will see and do spot LNG. So it's an investment project to build the terminal. So Ukraine is very far from the current terminals, at least one country away, which is the Polish terminal. And otherwise it's 2 or even more countries away if you talk about the Greek terminals. And unfortunately we have and that's where I'm coming to the topic, we have a transportation cost system, a tariff system that is based on pancaking. So each country is adding a pancake of costs of tariffs, and unfortunately the gas market is not working like the power market, where basically there would be a marginal cost or a marginal price of 0 for the gas to flow, which is also true because it's not a marginal cost of 0. But so the main topic for me for Ukraine and LNG is about cost of transportation from the markets. And I mean, LNG is now the European market. LNG is the main source for the European market, and it will grow because there is a lot of terminals. So, which means that the LNG will come to the terminals, to the countries with the terminals, and then the question for Ukraine is, okay, how to get, if Ukraine needs resource, it needs gas, because I think the main focus today of all the players in Ukraine is to produce as much as possible and to be self-sufficient, so, and including biomethane, and so that's, but if you talk about Ukraine and LNG, it's basically about Ukraine and access to markets, and the access to markets is the question of cost. So the worrying thing in the last years is that the tariffs and the cost of transportation to Ukraine are only increasing. So the most, let's say, the worst example is Romania. So Romania, so there was, I think, energy community and all the players, everyone has been working quite hard to make the southern corridor work. Last year it worked, but this year I don't think it's going to work because the Transgas Romania almost doubled the tariffs for the flows, and is basically killing the vertical corridor. So there's a lot of talk, but when they walk, they just do the opposite. Yeah. So and especially Mr. Jon Styrian is clearly not working for enabling trade and gas to flow to Ukraine. So unfortunately, so this is not only the case in other countries, and of course we have the main issue is the end of the transit contract in 1st of January 2025. So it looks very unlikely that there will be any prolongation, and in itself it's a good thing, as in the introduction it was said you need to be pragmatic but not and cynical, but well, I mean, it's of course very logical in the if Europe doesn't want Russian gas, that the transit will stop. So in that case, the cost for the whole LNG chain, so for LNG or any market gas flowing to Ukraine will increase. So that's the battle for Ukraine to fight. And I think Ukraine should develop a strategy, a communication, and a strategy to say what is important for Ukraine is not cheap gas, it's cheap access to gas. And please, countries, help us. So Poland, we did short haul. So Ukraine had a very innovative approach to gas transportation cost, which was the short haul. It was a very good initiative. It was a very good idea. And so Ukraine showed that they could innovate and make their storage competitive. So I don't agree completely with Predrag that the 2.5 BCM was less than expected. Of course, it should have been more, but it's still it was still quite impressive. So, but for if the cost, I mean, traders just talk with their wallet, with the money, so they just look at the spreads, and I think everyone understood that, okay, if the spreads are over 10 euros, then traders come. So, and with the current market prices, which is good for everyone, and it's a very good result of the European strategy, traders will not come. That's very simple. So there needs to be focus on the cost, just about the cost bringing the gas to Ukraine, and convince maybe Polish operators, even Ustream, Hungarians, and also Romanians to say, hey, let's develop a product that is a specific short haul tariff for gas to Ukraine. Why not? I mean, it's because the costs of transportation in the European grids is not that high. I mean, most of the grids are amortized. I don't see why it's not possible. I mean, Ukraine did it. So let's think out of the box and see how we can bring competitive gas to Ukraine. But forget about the LNG. That's, I mean, LNG or natural LNG is just gas, and it's coming from the markets. It's access to the markets that is needed. That's all.
Thank you very much. I think that if that's all for you, then it's not all for many Ukrainian experts who will take your words for consideration, and of course, this will provoke them for future and further thinking. Thank you for the sober-minded approach and assessment of our prospects and plans. Meanwhile, we have Ukrainian experts with us. Let's hear from them, and especially what they think of this international perspective that was presented to us by Predrag and Willem. And the first Ukrainian expert to speak is Yevgen Natsvin-Stepanov, first deputy chairman of the board of the Association of Energy Suppliers.
Thank you for the floor. Thank you for the possibility to say statement and view from the private sector of Ukrainian natural gas. And yes, of course, we understand that due to the invasion of Russia to Ukraine, and due to the decrease of Russian natural gas supply to Europe, we understand that the share of using of LNG natural gas in Europe increased significantly up to 20%, and due to the expiration of the transit contract in 2024, this increasement of the usage of LNG natural gas will be even more, and we must understand this, the trends. And I could say that on behalf of Ukrainian private market players, they are fully interested in the involvement of the development of the process, according speaking actually from the Ukraine itself. And there are this matter in Ukraine consists of, I think, two parts and two issues. The first one is a regulatory issue. It means that Ukraine, I think, should improve the regulatory scale to make incentives for the development of the LNG infrastructure in Ukraine. And actually it's more than in long-term perspective. And also there is an infrastructural issue that was, as we all know, that Ukraine, starting from 2012 till this nowadays, Ukraine had some projects that were to develop the LNG infrastructure, but those projects were called down. And I think Ukrainian stakeholders should return to these matters, to these issues, to again redevelop the infrastructural LNG matters to give the European and also Ukrainian players additional proposals of, for example, regasification for regasification. Yes, of course, while there is still ongoing war and while there is there is a Black Sea blocking, we understand that these projects are more likely to speak of after the war ends and in long-term perspective. But still, we have time to start and to prepare, at least to prepare. And but while there is an ongoing war, and while we understand that the usage and development of the LNG supply in Europe will be increasing, I think Ukraine could propose some kind of subsidial matter, for example, to storage capacities that European players could use to store gas that will come, and even more come from LNG. And I think it could be a good idea for them to use and to because Ukraine, we understand that Ukraine must be involved and must be a part of this whole process. So I think, yeah, we believe that something will come up of it. Thank you.
Very good, and I do hope that something useful will come up out of our today's discussion. I see that Mr. Bogachev, who was supposed to speak next, has somehow disappeared from, or is he with us? Oh, yes, I see that he's back. He wasn't there for a while. So Igor Bogachev, Chief Manager for Strategic Planning and Business Analysis at the Ukrainian Energy Exchange.
Hello, everyone. I have bad connection, internet connection, but I come back to you. I would like to share some slides. You see it? Are you hearing well?
Yes, we see the slides.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you to Energy Club to organize such timely discussions. And I would like to present some data. Some speakers talk about this, but I think in presentation it will be the best way to understand what we have today in Europe. Today we have big increase. Today the share of total Russian pipeline and LNG gases in Europe declined significantly. Now we have around 14% and continue to decline. The pre-war share was around 45% from 2015-2021. Most of big countries such as Germany, Poland, Bulgaria, Baltic countries, and others completely refused the supplies Russian gas from Russia, and only 3 countries such as Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary still remained a significant share of Russian gas supply. But LNG supply has become one of the tools alleviating supply measures such as due to demand due to war, alongside measures such as demand reduction, utilization of gas, and increase supply from alternative sources to Europe.
Mr. Bogachev,
Yes.
are you changing
Yes.
the slides in your presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
You see second slide.
No. I wonder if anyone else sees the second slide.
Just a second. I would like to share.
No, you're
Once
right.
again.
I can't see.
The first slide was stuck, and it is still there. It's probably due to a bad. Oh, now we see slide number 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Number
And now,
one.
yeah, now number
the
2.
first
Good.
slide and number 2, and LNG supply has become one of the most significant source in Europe. LNG imports continue to rise in Europe amid declining of internal production in EU countries. The largest importers in the European Union are France, Spain, and Netherlands. The United States is a major supplier of LNG to European continent. The European Union, just a second, the European Union, along with the United Kingdom, has become the world's largest LNG supplier, accounting 22% share of worldwide. Global LNG demand is rapidly increasing, as you see on the slide, and production capacities increased as well. European Union continue to increase its LNG utilization capacity with disproportional concentration of these capacities in Western countries like Germany, France, Spain. Greece and Croatia is only Southeast European countries plans to build new capacities. Sorry?
No, this was just because Predrag's mic was open, we heard something.
And
but he wasn't addressing
you. Ukraine.
No, sorry.
Regarding Ukraine, prior to war, there are plans to build LNG terminal in Port Yuzhny, but its likelihood diminished with the onset of the conflict. Furthermore, we have a great political risk and prohibitions to pass LNG tankers through Bosphorus. And that is why commercial output of this project is not understandable. So, take into account that Black Sea
Hello. I think that the connection has failed us again.
is that discussed today is a vertical corridor from Greece to Ukraine, and it is have more perspectives than other. In such project, we can use Ukrainian gas storage facilities to add to security to supply to European Union. And as you see, transmission system operators of gas now conclude memorandum to develop such cooperation in a regional level. Ukrainian Energy Exchange also is a part of regional cooperation initiative under SIGAS initiative. We signed some memorandums with regional power exchanges and try to develop regional market and to develop trading and post-trading infrastructure. And for the conclusions, yes, we see that LNG is a global trend and one tools for diversifying supply away from Russian gas alongside local production. To facilitate LNG trade in the region, it is necessary to develop an internal market where traders can operate without any risks. And I agree with the previous speaker that said that regulatory risk now are high in Europe, in Ukraine, and we have to manage this with it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your presentation, impressive presentation, Mr. Bogachev, but I would say that it probably requires some assessment from the people who were exposed to it, and I see that Predrag Gruzic is again on our screens, so I presume that he has something to say in relation to this.
Thanks, Andriy. First of all, and thanks to Ukrainian colleagues, especially for these very elaborated presentations. Indeed, but what William said is very much true. LNG supplies are going probably to be the most important for Europe in the next 20 years, depending, of course, on Norwegian suppliers. The other corridors will either slowly shrink or remain stable at best. Yeah. Okay, maybe southern corridor from top, from Azeri gas, we can see a little bit more here and there, and that would be it. But as William correctly said, after all, LNG is just natural gas, you know, and the abundance of these supplies would mean that European gas market would have simply gas at its disposal for further transactions at the wholesale and then further to retail levels, of course. So Ukraine should first of all use this opportunity. Now, LNG business. Why I said that we are not so familiar with LNG business in the energy community, we because Croatia left energy community before the LNG Krk was built. Although we were a little bit involved in these talks, we don't have a single contracting party which has LNG infrastructure on its territory. And you know, when you don't have LNG infrastructure and LNG regulatory framework, you are not extremely familiar with it. But let's say that these rules are not so important. What is very different is how LNG trade is organized. This is what I understand from the colleagues who started to trade with LNG suppliers directly. So this is also the second problem why we are not familiar with LNG business as such, is that mainly our traders were the importing countries, right? Moldova, Serbia, Bosnia, North Macedonia, Ukraine to a certain extent. They were usually imported pipeline gas. So, but really not of course physically from pipelines, because they don't have LNGs, but they traded mainly with this within this traditional framework of pipeline trade. And LNG trade is very much different. You have a lot more speculative parts. You have, LNG is also a sort of storage facility, be it a tanker or whatsoever. So you can really play around, and there is a certain, coaching and training in how to do this business. As William said, LNG suppliers prefer long-term contracts. This is what we saw from the latest data. 75% of the global trade, I mean, William will correct me, is long-term. So they are not so much on the spot either. Long-term, of course, contracts mean really long-term, 17 to 20, 23 years and even more. They give you maybe smaller reduced price, of course, but the problem, of course, with European traders, including maybe Naftogaz as the biggest trader in Ukraine, can they bet on such a long-term contracts given this very pressing transition agenda? Will I need that many LNG quantities in 2045 if I need to go completely hydrogen by that time, and so on and so forth? So it's quite difficult to say. And 2 points to make further based on what Ihor, Evgeny, and William said. To get gas, LNG gas to Ukraine, transportation costs really matter, but also regasification costs. So LNG entry to national transmission system, these tariffs can be also pricey. So depending where you want to go, probably the route from Poland is relatively cheapest. But don't forget that all these capacities, entry to LNG, are usually long-term booked until 2040 by national companies like Picnic in Poland. So what you will probably have to do is either to look for some smaller capacities to book on your own and then book all the transport to Ukraine, or to try to play with importers of LNG directly. This is the second problem. And as William said, this Trans-Balkan route is particularly, I would say, frustrating this year because of the mainly Romanian behavior. But it really can open a lot of opportunities with the Greek LNG terminals, let's say also Turkish LNG terminals to a certain extent, and can be very, very prolific for Ukraine and Moldova. This is why we are, together with Commission, working on, let's see what the real problem with gas quality issue, because gas quality issue is one of the issue and excuse for not increasing the transport capacity. Let's see how we can make these short haul interconnection points cheaper. So we are going to help Ukrainians and Moldovans to, at least for this border, to make short haul tariffs very, let's say, desirable for traders, and we are doing this together with Andre and Merck, and we are launching a study very soon about this. But as William correctly said, there are 3 more countries to go further on: Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece. Greece being very cooperative and very willing, of course, to transform itself into a big LNG hub. Alexandroupolis is particularly a case in the point. So there are lots of opportunities. Now, whether Ukrainian big or maybe even small traders would go for direct LNG supplies, I don't know. But there will be abundance of gas, definitely. And I don't think that we should see any crisis in LNG supplies, regardless of the President Biden's current decision. And don't forget, this is only one criterion. This is criterion on environment. There are other criteria in the United States Department of Energy, like international cooperation, because nobody knows, but at the moment, Europe is actually the biggest American LNG export market. 50% of LNG, because it's on the, it's in the Gulf, in the Mexican Gulf, it goes via Atlantic to Europe. So America has also interest to keep Europeans as their LNG buyers. Back to you, Andrei.
Well, again, a very pragmatic and well-informed point of view. And after Predrag's interference, Willem Kupusel becomes the most widely quoted participant of this discussion. So, of course, we want to hear from him. The more so that we saw impressive maps in Mr. Bohachev's presentation, which reminded us, as rightly referred to by Mr. Gruzicic, of the distance issue, which was discussed by Willem. So please go on.
Well, nothing much to add. I'm happy that the energy community indeed is pushing to work on the on improving the corridors. So, but well, we are in contact. I think it would be useful, and I see some people from Naftagaz also participating in the call to let's say to have a joint claim or a joint message, and maybe some trader consultation, especially in the March meeting, to use the March meeting in Vienna to work on some concrete ideas to make especially the southern corridor work, because it worked last year, and there's good work on the way with between Ukraine and Moldova on the short haul. But there should this platform. The platform exists, so let's try to use it and include also the view of shippers of how to work with it. And I think Naftagaz, well, it's an indirect message to my former colleagues, is should be a bit more vocal and active on this. It's clear that the import is not a priority for Naftagaz today, but the access to the country should be. And just to conclude on the LNG, LNG is gas, and I think right now what the LNG has the effect, or what has achieved already, is that right now the Ukrainian market prices are at the level of the European market prices. So we are at import parity currently in Ukraine, which is quite amazing, in fact, and at a very low level of prices. So which is good for all the consumers in Ukraine and outside Ukraine, and also for the market, because basically the message to the Ukrainian authorities would be, don't be afraid, open the export again. Yeah, that's another message. Because now you are at import parity, so what's the reason to ban the export? Which would be good for producers, because the Ukrainian producers will produce more, the private producers will produce more if the export is possible. It's the same for the biomethane. Biomethane will develop if you just open the market, so don't be afraid. That's all.
All right, thank you very much. Knowing the prestige that Willem Kopusel has in this country, I do hope that his message to Ukrainian authorities will be heeded too. And I wonder if Ukrainian participants, especially Mr. Bohachev, have anything to add, to reply. And we also have two participants who have joined us, but were not on the list of speakers. So if Mr. Elin or Mr. Kropotnitsky want to ask questions or make brief interventions, you're welcome. No particular desire indicated. So I think that we will be going to our final statements, final remarks, and if Mr. Gruzicic and Mr. Kupusel want to say anything in addition to what they have already said, you're welcome. No.
No, I would just
yes,
like
yes.
no, I would just like to thank you,
Thank
Andrei, for inviting us, and we will return this favor back. We will invite you to our shippers meetings, and we will invite you to our LNG workshops and to all other dedicated, open events. We cannot invite you to our discussions with the regulators, of course, and with the authorities. And we take back, we support very, very, very strongly what William said about export ban. This is really a flagrant breach not only of the gas acquis but of the very basic energy community treaty as itself. We are very vocal to Ukrainian authorities that this export ban must be abolished immediately or as soon as possible, including ban on biomethane. But let's talk about this. This is one of the points on our agenda for the reform of the Ukrainian gas markets. Not only one, of course, there are 20, 25, but one of the very, very prominent. Thank you very much again, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. It is really heartening to hear that such a authoritative body as energy community is interested in talking further to Ukrainians. And with this, I invite our Ukrainian participants to deliver their closing remarks. Mr. Natsvin Stepanov.
Actually, what I want to add is that we are totally agree with the proposals about to stop the export ban. So we like private players also are interested in this, and I think the stopping of this ban could make additional incentives for development of also the LNG matter and LNG issue. So thank you. We
Thank
also
you.
like communicate to the Ukrainian stakeholders and to Ukrainian power holders for this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any concluding remarks from Mr. Bohachov?
Thank you very much once more for organization such discussions. It is valuable thoughts from European colleagues and we know that in Ukraine there are a lot of regulatory issues as export ban, as public service obligations and so on. And as Predrag said, that LNG is only natural, no, it is the same natural gas, but it is liquefied. And we should develop our trading facility, trading infrastructure in Ukraine to develop standardization to enhance the market and enhance new traders and participants to Ukrainian market. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And William, will you please sum up the course and the results, preliminary results of this discussion?
No, I think it's fine like this. Thank you, Andrei. So I'm happy to have participated, and let's start. Let's continue working and be very pragmatic. That's so. Of course, it is not easy in this situation in the war, but the basic principles of free market and helping to attract investment still remain valid, and I think Naftogaz is showing that they continue to invest in new production. Unfortunately, it's not the same thing on the private sector, and I think that's well, the export ban is part of it. So let's stay pragmatic and try to continue to invest in Ukraine. So
Thank you very much, Willem. Thank you, everyone, for being able to jam so much sense in such a brief time. And we will probably return more than once to the thoughts that you have expressed. And of course, this recording will be available for scrutiny to other people who are interested in this very important topic. There was a good combination of optimism and realism in this discussion. I hope that this will prevail in our future meetings. Take care. Bye-bye.